Shomurodov is creating miracles again and saving Roma's goal. Erik ten Hag is the new coach of Juventus. A shameful match of Liverpool against Fulham and an even more boring spectacle in the Manchester derby. By the way, the citizens have officially said goodbye to Kevin De Bruyne and have already found a replacement for him and an unexpected place for Jamal to continue his career. We're talking about this and much more today. Friends, this is a dose of football and the top 10 hottest news to this hour. Friends, I suggest you charge your royal likes. If we collect 5,000 thumbs up today, we will definitely see you tomorrow. Well, I wish you a pleasant appetite and a pleasant viewing. Rafinha lost control of himself after the game with Betis. The Brazilians couldn't even calm their own partners and coach. Moreover, they also got a scolding from the team captain. It seems that the team's poor performance had a bad effect on his emotional state. What happened there? Rafinha had the audacity to make a bold statement before the game with the Argentina team. His message was that Brazil would deliver a crushing defeat to their two-legged adversary. In the end, Rafinha and his team were powerless against the world champions, suffering a humiliating 1-4 defeat. And above all, Barcelona's attackers began to laugh at his reckless language. Upon his return to the Catalan club, it was clear that Rafinha had a hard time with this outing in the national team, and his psychology began to slowly give way. It got to the point where the Brazilian turned on his own partners and the head coach. After the game with Betis, Rafinha got into a dispute with the side referee. He didn't like some of the assistant referee's decisions and he went to argue. In the course of exchanging pleasantries, the side referee suggested Rafinha to shut up, and that made him lose his cool. Barcelona's coach, Hansi Flick, initially attempted to pacify Rafinha, but failed. Rafinha aggressively pushed Flick away and remained agitated. While leaving the stands, the Brazilian got upset again and got into a conflict with someone from the referee team. This time, Ter Stegen decided to take the sinner further, but also ran into a rude push. Head down, Rafa left the field. In the locker room, media reports say he apologized to his partners and Flick. But this is a bad signal for Barcelona. Rafinha was just the moral leader of the team, the man who never gave up and was always focused on victory. However, lately he has been having trouble dealing with emotions. And no matter how it didn't play a cruel joke with the team, in the decisive part of the season, Lunin. A serious battle is unfolding for Andre Lunin. For many years, the goalkeeper faithfully served Real Madrid, successfully replaced the outgoing Thibaut Courtois last season, and contributed to the teams reaching the Champions League final. But he found it too tough to compete with the Belgian keeper. And who can challenge this tireless monster? Certainly not Lunin. The question of the Ukrainian's future was sharply posed last summer when his contract was nearing its end. But Lunin signed a new agreement, and with that, his saga from last year came to an end. However, he's unlikely to complete this contract. Already in this off-season, many European clubs will be vying for Andre, with Manchester United currently considered the main contender. The Red Devils are reportedly offering crazy money for him. According to some data, it's 80 million euros. And it's unlikely that Real's management will refuse if the club from Manchester makes an official offer. At the same time, Lunin is also interested in another Red Devil, namely Milan, who is dissatisfied with the performance of their main goalkeeper. There was a time when Mike Mignan was synonymous with reliability. Thanks to his incredible form, Rossoneri became champions for the first time in 10 years. But specifically this season, the Frenchman's form has declined. If you look at the dry statistics, then Mignan has the worst indicators for all the time in Milan. Every third opponent's shot ends up in a goal, although in the first season they only broke through him on the 5th attempt. And it's not to say that Milan's defense brings more than usual, it's just that Mignan doesn't save. On the contrary, the Frenchman makes many mistakes and does so in important matches. That missed goal in the first leg against Feyenoord, one could say, put the nail in the coffin for Rossoneri's performances in the Champions League. At the very least, if it weren't for him, Milan would have had more chances to advance further. The goalkeeper himself also has complaints. He doesn't like the direction the team has taken, and he is also considering a change of scenery. The desire to break off relations appears to come from both sides. This summer, Milan will search for a new goalkeeper, but lacks sufficient funds for Lunin. You wouldn't call Rossoneri a rich club. The Berlusconi era is long gone, and it's unlikely that Milan will be able to compete with Manchester United. Kylian Mbappe's transfer may mark the end of Vinicius' stint at Santiago Bernabeu, but it's not a matter of personal relationships. They seem to have that under control.
There was almost never any doubt about that.
Well, at least it never escalated to open conflicts. There were only rumors of tension, but it never showed on the field. On the contrary, it seemed like Vini and Mbappe became friends right away. For instance, the Brazilian helped his partner adapt in any convenient case, sending the ball straight to him. Now, the Frenchman is giving Vinicius a penalty so that he can feel more confident again. While there's a nuance, Vinicius is responsible for being upset about taking penalties. The issue stems from the relationship between the Brazilian player and, oddly, the team management. The thing is, right now, in the offices of Real Madrid, the question of who to bet on in the future is being decided. This could be either Vinicius or Mbappe, yes, even Jesus Vallejo, but there must be a basis for this. And the leadership is not blind, it sees how much the Brazilian's form has improved this season. Moreover, Mbappe's game is good. It's much more logical to rely on a more stable player who also doesn't have behavior problems. But if it was just about one of Vinicius' games, the leadership might not have been so quick to let him go. However, the issue also pertains to the player's stance on the contract extension. Vini knows that Frenchman Mbappe's salary is 20 million net, which is much higher than the Brazilian's own salary, and he feels underpaid. Vinicius wants a new contract with a salary of 25 million, which Real Madrid considers excessive. And something? The idea of selling Vinicius to Saudi Arabia no longer seems like a bad option. By the way, the interests of the sheikhs also add their share to the discord between the footballer and the club. Both sides understand that such an opportunity may not come again. Overall, these factors hurt Vinicius' future at Madrid, which began with Mbappe's transfer. He came in all his glory, so beautiful and talented, immediately took the lead in the team and left the Brazilian in the shadows. Now everyone thinks that it's time for Vini to leave. Another source confirms that Barcelona's financial problems could become an obstacle to extending the contract with Lamino Jamal. As has been mentioned repeatedly, this summer young winger was supposed to sign his first professional agreement. The parties agreed that Lamino deserved to become one of the highest paid footballers of the team. Barcelona had long prepared the agreement and sent it to the attacking agent Jorge Mendes. But here are financial problems. He did not believe in the ability of the Catalan club to pay such money. What amount is being discussed is not reported, but it can be assumed that it is more than 10 million euros net. The Portuguese agent's fears are indeed justified. Barca had a hard time declaring for the season Dani Olmo and Pablo Victor, two players with not the highest salary. The management had to perform real dances with tambourines and even quarrel with the entire league to accomplish this. So where does the confidence come from that Barca can pay Jamal a new salary without any kind of delay? Yet, she will get good money for this season, especially if she takes some big trophy. But that still won't be enough. With Barcelona's current financial situation, they need to sell players to guarantee stable payments to Jamal. Until this point, Jorge Mendes will not allow his client to sign the contract. And this, in turn, opens up room for maneuver for those clubs interested in the transfer of the young Catalan genius. I talked about the intentions of Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester City in yesterday's issue. If you're interested, be sure to watch. But it became known about another contender for Jamal. According to the Mundo Deportivo portal, Liverpool wants to join the fight for Barcelona's winger. This summer, a very important African player, who plays in the same position as Jamal, will leave the Scousers. And it would be good to take advantage of Barcelona's weakness to get such a successor for the Egyptian legend. Ruben Amorim made an interesting statement about the upcoming transfer campaign of Manchester United. We need to sign one or two big players, not from Real, but based on how I see the game. I'm talking about the characteristics that we don't have in our squad, said the Portuguese. Whether it was intentional or accidental, but the health coach really got under the skin of Manchester United's management. In previous years, it loved to recruit footballers from Madrid for huge money, but instead of becoming team leaders, these players with a bang failed. This was the case when Rafael Varane arrived. The Frenchman's experience and skills were expected to make the Manchester United defense a symbol of reliability. In the end, it's hard to call him an ordinary footballer, and his collection of trophies could be envied by anyone. But Varane has surely strengthened the club's laser. 3 years after the transfer to Manchester United, the Frenchman decided to end his career at 31. A similar story occurred with Casemira's transfer. The Brazilian was a real pillar in Real Madrid. He dominated the entire center, and it seemed that there was no more reliable support in the world. But he literally disappeared after moving to Old Trafford. Casemiro is still playing in Manchester, but he has long been a shadow of his former self and is unlikely to stay at the club for another season. It's funny that after this statement by Mourinho, news emerged about Manchester United's interest in Federico Valverde. It seems that Rugwaits is such a good midfielder that he should strengthen any team in the world. But wasn't the same thing said during the transition to Voronoi Casemiro? Nevertheless, the Red Devils are seriously intent on getting Valverde. They are prepared to offer 150 million euros for him, breaking their own transfer record. However, there are doubts that Madrid will agree to let go of one of their leading players, even for that kind of money. Still, Valverde is too valuable a person for the royal club, and I find it hard to imagine that Florentino Perez would give the go-ahead for his transfer. He won in the Champions League, and now he works as a sales consultant. Yesterday, the whole world was shocked by the story of former Barcelona defender Jeremy Mathieu, who played on the same team with Messi, Suarez and Neymar. In the summer of 2014, the Catalans bought the French centre-back from Valencia for 20 million euros. Jeremy's transfer to Barcelona was odd, as he didn't fit their style. Though slow and not agile, he was good in the air and physically tenacious. You would expect to see such a footballer in some mid-table team with a philosophy of scrapping and fighting, but certainly not in total Barcelona control. Despite this, Mathieu's transfer to Barcelona was successful. Unexpectedly, a bright attacking trio emerged in the team under the leadership of Luis Enrique. Barcelona won the treble at the season's end. The Frenchman played frequently and was nearly a key player in the team. After which he spent 2 more seasons in Barca and then moved to the Portuguese Sporting. Well, 2 years ago he announced the end of a fairly successful career. What do retired footballers usually do? Mostly they either rest or continue to work in the football-related sector. Some start a coaching career, some take on representative duties, but some work as television experts. Jeremy Mathieu took a very unusual path. Yes, he got a job as a sales consultant in a Marseille sports clothing store called Intersport. Now, the multiple winner of various elite football competitions can be caught helping customers choose the right boots. It is noted that Mathieu went to work in the store not because of financial need. He has money, he just wanted to do this. Manchester City officially says goodbye to Kevin De Bruyne. Pep Guardiola confirmed that the Belgian will leave Manchester City, and the decision was made by the club's management, not the player himself. Now City faces the most difficult task of finding a quality replacement for the Belgian. Yes, it seemed that you take something like that, Verka, and that's it. Florian is currently the most sought-after player for top clubs like Bavaria and Real Madrid, who are actively pursuing him. It's still not a fact that Xabi Alonso won't be able to persuade the defender to stay at the bar for another season. And don't forget the price. The German will cost $50-60 million. That's some serious money. With all the introductions, we find that City needs at least alternative options, and of course they exist. Reports say the townspeople are setting tasks. Olma from Barcelona. Creative, capable of creating moments out of nothing, beautifully seeking free space. Well, a lover of hanging out in the laser tag. There's an opportunity to acquire him at a reduced price if the Spaniard falters due to issues with his La Liga registration. Guardiola disliked it even during the Leipzig performances. Olma chose Barcelona, his childhood dream team. But harsh reality and financial crisis could have made him change his career plans. In addition to Olma, City is also studying Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa. As reported by Team Talk, asserts that it is he who is Guardiola's favorite, not Virtus Rogers, the key player of Birmingham, on whom the team's game is built. Not only can he play in any position from fullback and winger to attacking midfielder, but regardless of the role, he almost flawlessly handles the ball, which is why Villa constantly passes him the ball. When they don't know what to do, Wirtz, in my opinion, still has great potential, but Rogers is proven in the Premier League and costs less. However, I doubt that Villa would want to let go of their important footballer. Liverpool unexpectedly failed for everyone, but not for me. I keep saying the team will fail. At the end of the season, he lost to Fulham with a score of 3-1. All we saw from the Reds in this match were individual actions. That's exactly how Alexis McAllister opened the score. Sam took the ball, dragged it closer to the penalty area and slammed a shot under the left 9. It seemed that Liverpool would calmly hold the score, while adding from the counter-attack, as they know how to do it. But it was not so. In the first half, Liverpool missed a goal after some inexplicable turnovers. The main lineup came out, but there were failures in all lines, resulting in a disappointing game. As if they've already won the Premier League title with Kauser, they needn't fight for points anymore. There are several complaints about Arne Slot, including Federico Chiesa's late arrival. In recent matches he's been extremely active and looks good, but for some reason the coach still doesn't trust him. But he doesn't want to change Mohamed Salah at all, even though the Egyptian seems to be gearing up for the match. Think twice on the bench. After the international break, Salah has 7 attempts at dribbling, none of them successful, 2 out of 15 ground duels won, 1 out of 8 successful passes, only 2 shots in 1 goal. Salah, a leader who carries the team when in form, is currently not performing or doing anything on the field. He needs to be given a rest and motivated at the same time, not keep playing him so he can ruin matches. Besides Liverpool's Premier League game, yesterday there was the Manchester derby to watch, although it didn't turn out to be a spectacle. On the contrary, it was an extremely dull match. Probably the worst game of the season, at least in terms of the quality of the match, I haven't seen. Just a disgrace from 2 English giants, well, 1 giant and a very famous club. Moreover, it's not even possible to praise the tactical neutralization of the opponent by Guardiola and Amarima. City just senselessly rolled the ball, Daku senselessly bypassed and, well, senselessly tried to sharpen from a counter-attack. And that's it, the worst match of the season, considering the expectations. Erik ten Hag plans to continue his career for the foreseeable future. The Dutch specialist is already considering options for continuing his career, and one of the priority directions for him has become Italian football. In Serie A, there are indeed several clubs where the situation with the coaching staff remains uncertain. Among them are Milan, Juventus, Atalanta, Napoli and Roma. Ten Hag, according to reports, has already decided on the options that are most interesting to him. It's either Juventus or Roma. He was recently spotted at a match between these teams, which sparked a wave of rumors about his possible appointment. Both clubs are currently managed by interim coaches. Igor Tudor replaced Thiago Motta at Juventus. Claudio Ranieri leads the team in Rome, agreeing to help after their disappointing season start. Under his leadership, the club has really improved and is back in the fight for the European Cups. If Roma picks up and continues its successful streak, then the Champions League is not far off. The future of both Tudor and Ranieri remains uncertain. Extending cooperation with Tudor is still being discussed, while there are virtually no chances of Ranieri continuing. He had already retired, but seemingly came back briefly to help the club overcome the crisis. It's not clear which of these teams Ten Hag is most interested in, but if you look at the situation from the point of view of the availability of the position and potential trust from the management, then Roma now looks like a more likely option. Tottenham knocked out Southampton and sent the Saints to the Championship. Overall, not a bad match from Schalke. Despite all the criticism of Stoichkoglu, Petuki started in standard mode, actively pressed Southampton and met the opponent's draw in the first half. But in the second half, according to Stoichkoglu, he demonstrated that he can still deviate from his style for the sake of benefit. Tottenham started playing more cautiously, nearly ending up in the penalty area. After all, the Europa League is coming up soon, for which it's worth saving strength. In the end, success in the tournament will determine the career. Southampton showed nothing, according to Stoichkoglu. Moreover, the Saints set a record for the earliest exit in the championship for the umpteenth time. Already, after the first 30 rounds, the team lost even the mathematical chances of staying in the league. But if Southampton was predicted to drop out even before the start of the season, then 16 defeats in 30 rounds from Tottenham is a shock, even for the haters. Before the game, London fans went out to protest against the club president, and they shouted, "Daniel Levy out of the team!" Given the massiveness, fans might succeed in getting Levy to resign. However, listening to fans isn't always advisable. Juventus fired Thiago Motta. Has anything improved? Yesterday, Turin tied with Roma 1-1. Boring, dull football, as if Allegri has returned to the helm. Navas, and no, it seems I didn't forget anything, Navas. Juve has no game. To carry the ball to the flank and throw a penalty is not football. Roma looked much more sympathetic and interesting. The Wolves had to fight back, and here the team was saved by Shomurodov. The advancing player has once again picked up a fantastic form. Looks like he will be the main forward even after Ranieri leaves. You can look at his crazy bank in our telecast. I'll leave the link in the description. Be sure to check out this football miracle. That's all for today. Thanks for watching and subscribing to the channel. My name is Cast, and this was your daily dose of football. Peace to your house and your hanga, friends.